The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
And welcome in. You are viewing On Deck with DeRo and Arch. College sports full scale. Things are moving along. Most sports are in conference play, so it's an exciting time for sports. And so Darren and I we're going to dive into some football and volleyball action today across the state, and we're excited to get to it. So, Darren, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Sports are, like you said, well underway, and it's nitty-gritty time now. People are starting to play conference ball in their respective sports, and this is when things start to shake out.
Yeah, it's fun time, and it kind of feels fall a little bit, and so I just think it's exciting time. So let's start with football today. Let's start with Mizzou. Went to College Station. Man, as a tough game for them. They kind of got behind the eight ball early and just never could recover. Texas A&M played well. Not only did they play well, they look like they're pretty good. And I know Missouri didn't bring their A game, or that's the appearance anyway. But I think first of all, we give credit to Texas A&M.
Absolutely. And I guess if there's a golden lining in this story, they weren't the worst upset of this weekend. So there was upset city this weekend, and I think they kind of fell into that trap. Seemed like anything that they tried to do just wasn't working. They just couldn't catch a break. And we're both coaches. We understand that you got to make your own breaks, but at the same time, Texas A&M played like a team that was fighting to get into that top 12 playoff format that's going to be implemented this year. They played with their hair on fire, and I think they sent a notice to the rest of the SEC. With basically I hate to call it this, but a beatdown that they put on Mizzou. Yeah. They put people on notice, and anytime, obviously, when you play there, that 12th man makes a difference. I don't care how good a team you have. That's a tough environment to play in.
For sure. And, the Vanderbilt game, Missouri played Vanderbilt a week ago and gave Missouri fits in double overtime. Then Vanderbilt beats Alabama. I think that just speaks to the SEC, just the balance of parity there, that, man, there is absolutely no easy game in the SEC.
No, not at all. And like I said, I think you saw that this weekend. Arkansas beats Tennessee, who's ranked 4th. And Arkansas has been playing people close. They played Texas A&M the week prior to last weekend and played within a touchdown. Had opportunities to win that game. A couple of untimely turnovers probably costing that game. So, yeah, there's some major players. And, if you take a look from top to bottom, there are several teams that on paper probably belong in that top 12 playoff format, like I said, that the NCAA is implementing this year. And the problem is going to be is that they're beating each other up. And, 2 or 3 losses are not going to get you into that. There's too many other teams in Big Ten and what have you that are going to, finish the conference play and conference final game, conference championship game, with only one loss. So right now they're just eliminating each other, and Mizzou's got to regroup.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to flush that one and start focusing in. I believe they have UMass this coming weekend, which should be a get right game to where they can work on some stuff. But that's it. I mean, that's it of the get right games. You know, it gets for real after that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned us sort of coaching, and obviously we haven't coached on the Division I level, so we're certainly not interjecting ourselves into the mindset of those Division I coaches. However, as coaches, sometimes you measure your team by their ability to bounce back, or their ability to overcome some adversity. And hey, adversity is alive and well right now in Columbia. So it will be interesting to see. It would be interesting to be on the inside looking out of the practice week this week to see what that environment's like. And you know, coaches do it all different ways. Sometimes they come in and just bring it, and then there's other times they make it teachable and they build and they do those things. So it would be really interesting to be on the inside of the Mizzou practice field this week.
Yeah, I would say there's going to be some pads popping in Columbia throughout this week. And, you know, that's the interesting thing about the FBS now. You know, when you're a top 10, 15, 25 team, you know, one loss could knock you out in week 1 or 2 of the season because you're playing for one of 4 spots. But with the new playoff format that they have now, you know, people are going to be some of those really good teams like Texas A&M that lost a tough one to Notre Dame in week 1. You know, they still see themselves as having a fighting chance, and they certainly helped, you know, their cause. But my goodness, Mizzou dropped from, I believe they were ranked 7th going into this game, and I saw one poll they're 21st now. So, you know, it's interesting to kind of sit back as a fan and watch, you know, with the new playoff format and the rankings and everything, how that plays out.
Absolutely, and you're right. There is more intrigue this year in terms of, you know, hey, we lost one, but maybe we get this one, and maybe somebody else gets beat, and so I think there's a little different dynamic this year with college football. It's obviously not as vast as college basketball, but it's got a little bit of that feel to it where you can kind of sneak your way in if you win at the right time, or if somebody loses at the right time, you can sort of work your way into that core group of 12 or so. So
sure. And you know, another thing too is just conference realignment. It's going to be interesting to see how all that works out. You know, the Big 10 / Big 12 / Big 18, whatever they are now, from coast to coast.
right.
You know, there's a lot of good teams in that conference. Same way with the SEC. You know, they bring in Texas and Oklahoma. Texas is currently ranked number 1 in the nation right now, and rightfully so. So, my goodness, I mean, just getting into one of those, you would think, getting into one of those top 12 slots doesn't sound quite as tough as, you know, having to run the table and win your conference championship game to, you know, get in one of those 4 slots. But there's a lot of teams being eliminated, you know, right now.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, and I think it does put, and maybe this is what the NCAA was after, but it does put importance on games later in the season that in years past might have been not as important in terms of a national setting. So I think there's some matchups down the road of teams that have one loss, maybe, you know, 2 1-loss teams paired up against each other. All of a sudden they are truly playing possibly for a spot, and the loser is out. I mean, it may be that simple. In years past, a 2-loss team or even a 1-loss team in certain conferences wasn't getting in. So different deal this year. Going to be fun to watch. And so back to Mizzou, they do play UMass this week. UMass is 1-5. So you're right. I think on paper, at least, it looks like it'd be a good chance for Mizzou sort of get right and get back on track. So, and you're right. From that point on, it is a fight every week for Mizzou. So they need to get right this week and look forward to some success later on in the conference season. Shifting gears a little bit, Southeast Missouri State. You and I have talked some about them lately, and I know you particularly have sort of had an eye on them and been watching them. They are 5-1 early on and beat Eastern Illinois at Eastern Illinois this weekend. They play the Golden Eagles from Tennessee Tech this weekend, I believe. So 5-1 for SEMO.
Yeah, they've had a great year up to this point, and I became enamored with them the very first week when they were kind of the highlight game, spotlight game on ESPN, and been very impressed with their play. They played a pretty good schedule up to this point, and in the midst of conference play, they just need to keep taking care of business.
Yeah, and quarterback from Southeast is actually a Camden High School product. And I believe I saw today where he was chosen as the offensive player of the week in the Big South / Ohio Valley Conference. So congratulations to the quarterback there.
And I'm not even, DeRo, I am not even going to attempt to try to figure out how to pronounce his last name. So just keep doing what you're doing, buddy. You're making us proud.
Yeah, and hey, if somebody from SEMO wants to call in or visit with us, we'd love to shed some light on him. And first of all, be able to pronounce his last name, but maybe
help this poor uneducated fool figure out how to say his last name.
Yeah, but sounds like he's had not only did he have a great week, but we've kind of gotten some feedback that he's been a really solid player all year, and he's kind of upper tier in terms of that conference quarterback and that kind of thing. So SEMO fans, if you're listening to us, fill us in. We'd love to hear more about your quarterback. So Evangel, local Evangel out of Springfield, they are 5-0. They won their homecoming game this week over Avila. Like most NAIA schools, they are off this weekend, and the following weekend they play Bethany, which is 3-3. So Evangel taking care of business. Yeah,
just like we talked week in and week out. I think they're probably the class of the KCAC, and once again they just need to keep taking care of business. They're playing really well right now, and they just need to stay healthy and keep winning, keep bringing those dubs back to Springfield, Missouri, and they'll be in good shape. And they play in a really nice facility down at Nixa High School. And I guess from what I've heard, and I'm going to try to get down to a game down there as soon as possible, but they've had some really good crowds. So looking forward to watching that team in person here before too long. Yeah,
and I think you're right. I mean, they're just doing all the right things right now in terms of just taking care of the next game, and they win convincingly each time out. And you're right. I think the trick for them is to sort of just keep taking care of business, but stay healthy, so that they can, make a big push at the end of the season when the chips are down. So, yeah, fun to watch Evangel. And you're right about the Nixa facility. I've heard great things about that. So I too should get down there and check out Evangel at Nixa Stadium. So maybe we'll do that sometime.
You bet.
I keep referencing them each week, but Missouri Baptist moved to 4-1 with a win over Central Methodist. They play their next two games are against nationally ranked teams, Benedictine number 11 and Mid-America Nazarene number 16. So we are getting ready to find out a little bit about Missouri Baptist. Yeah, and Benedictine put up 56 points this past weekend, and Mid-America Nazarene put up 70. So they're pretty good, high scoring teams, and it'd be interesting to watch after the bye weekend how they fare, how Missouri Baptist fares against Benedictine and Mid-America Nazarene. Definitely high flying offenses. Well, and I mean, you almost think that if Missouri Baptist even splits with those two somehow and goes 1-1, that they're probably legit in terms of being able to really compete the rest of the
Absolutely.
season. So it'll be fun to kind of to have a bird's eye view of those results. So William Jewell, they dropped to 3-2 their next game. Well, actually, they lost to the University of Indianapolis this weekend, and the next game is at Upper Iowa. SBU is 2-3. They're going to play McKendree next game. Missouri State goes to, I believe, Illinois State. Do I have that right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and they are 3-2. So, they bounced back and won 3 in a row here after their 0-2 start. So, a win at Illinois State would put them at 4-2, and certainly has changed their conversation from what it was earlier in the year.
Absolutely. They're quietly having a good season and got the ship righted, so to speak. And from what I've seen, they've played some really good football here the last few games. So hopefully they get that train on the track.
Yeah, fun to watch right now, I think. So, I think Springfield, the Missouri State campus and Springfield in general is kind of warming up a little bit. I think they kind of like what they're seeing there. So congrats to the MSU Bears and the best of luck as they try to move to 4-2. Central Missouri State, they dropped to 3-2, playing in the MIAA. They lost to Fort Hays State. It's the same story with us. MIAA, man, it's really tough. So a 3-2 record in the MIAA, to the outside person doesn't sound all that great, but you and I know that 3-2 in the MIAA it's not bad.
It's holding your own, no doubt about that. And that's the great thing. The bad thing is they still have to play Pittsburgh State, still have to play Northwest Missouri State. So in a good Central Oklahoma team, that's in that conference as well. So that MIAA conference. Like we said, any sport, it's awfully competitive. But boy, this year in football, there's a lot of parity, and they're just beating up on each other. It's going to be interesting to see how things shake out here in the next couple of weeks moving forward. Who wins that conference?
Yeah, and honestly, it kind of has the SEC feel in terms of the Division II level. It almost feels like, to you and I at least, that the MIAA is to Division II what the SEC is to Division I, at least in terms of football.
Agreed.
Yeah. You referenced Northwest Missouri State. They won their 4th game in a row. They are now 4-2. Started 0-2 and have won 4 straight. No surprise to either one of us that they've bounced back.
Yeah, they played a very tough non-conference schedule, and played a couple teams that are nationally ranked, and they found their stride. And I've noticed scores are not like what we're used to seeing, the spread, so to speak, but yet they're still able to take care of business and get those W's. And like I said, you just got to pile those up the best you can. You got to protect your home field, plus go out on the road and try to sneak some here and there and win the games you're supposed to. And Northwest Missouri is quietly getting the ship righted and winning games, and that's the name of the game at this point.
It is. Well, that's kind of the review of statewide football that we've got for you today. When we return from these messages, I think we'll hit some volleyball and reference some things there. I'm going to give this shout out one more time. If you're a SEMO football fan, fill us in. We'd love to hear more about your quarterback, and who knows, maybe we can even get him on our show, or somebody from SEMO, coaching staff or something like that. We'd love to talk to you guys more about what's going on in terms of Southeast Missouri State football program. So give us a shout out if you get a chance. We're going to take it to a commercial break here, and when we come back, we'll fill you in on some volleyball. We'll be back soon.
Hi, I'll have the avocado toast minus the avocado.
So, toast.
Yeah. Everything is so expensive these days.
Hey, Chevy gets it. That's why they're keeping prices down to earth, like on the most affordable EV in America. A super strong and capable Chevy truck.
And a high-tech Chevy SUV.
Why is Chevy making affordable vehicles connected by OnStar? It's so together we can do more.
And welcome back to On Deck with DeRo and Arch. We are coming out of the last segment. We discussed in-state football. We're going to dive into in-state volleyball here a little bit. NAIA continues to be really competitive, really balanced. Darren, you and I have spent a lot of time talking about the balance and just the pedigree there that exists at the NAIA volleyball level.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about just about every week. And but here again, it has to be mentioned just because of how solid the programs are within the state at that level. And here again, they just conference plays in play right now, and this is when things will start separating. It's going to be interesting to watch because there's already been a few upsets on paper anyway.
Right.
From conference play to this point, and I would expect there'll be several more.
Yeah, and I'll go through and just hit a few highlights. Central Methodist comes in at 16-5. They have a match on 10-8 with Park out of St. Louis. So that'll be a matchup, and I think Park comes in at 13-6. And both those teams have volleyball tradition. So, and as you've mentioned often, familiarity with each other. It's not like there's any mystery when those two get together. So that'll be a good one on 10-8. Columbia College is 11-9, and they actually beat Central Methodist in the last few days. So they obviously are in the conversation as well. One team that we highlighted just briefly last week that's kind of been under the radar, so to speak, I guess, is Evangel. They are now 16-2. They beat C of O this week, which is always a rivalry game. So I think we probably need to keep an eye a little bit on 16-2 Evangel going forward. Missouri Baptist, they're always in the conversation as well. They are 11-10 right now. The interesting thing about them is they are 4-0 in conference play. They've won 4 straight in that AMC conference, and so my guess is that they played some really tough matches on the non-conference side that's got them ready for that conference play. So certainly, I think we want to keep an eye on them as they continue in conference play. Mizzou, we're moving up levels, but Mizzou 9-4 on the year. They lost to number 13 Kentucky in 3 the other day, and they only have Alabama and Tennessee coming up. So no days off in the SEC. It doesn't matter the sport.
No.
So good luck to Mizzou as they continue. 9-4 at this point in the season. Congratulations to Mizzou. And obviously they're going to have to play the rest of the way out. One team we referenced a little bit last week, and you've referenced their soccer program in the past, but Washington University is 15-4 on the volleyball side. We mentioned last week they travel a lot and they're high academic standards, and so it's just pretty impressive. The teams that have success out of there, that they truly are sort of that student athlete that everybody wants students to be. That's society wants, the student athlete to live out both of those things. And my guess is if you're a student athlete at Washington University and you have success as an athlete, you're probably having success as a student as well. So be worth keeping an eye on Washington University, 15-4. They play Westminster on 10-9, October the 9th. So best of luck as they continue on. CMSU is 5-8. Rockhurst is 5-8. So that's kind of where those teams stand. I think going forward, and we've given the NAIA volleyball, we've covered them a lot, but we're just super impressed with them. And so I think going forward, we're going to keep you, the viewer, really updated on that. And we would encourage you to follow that a little bit. It's really highly competitive volleyball. And so those young ladies are super competitive and they're super athlete and they don't fit sort of maybe the stereotypical view of what volleyball is. A lot of us sort of sometimes have this, PE class volleyball sort of view. And let me tell you, those ladies are, they are not your eighth grade PE volleyball class.
I would not want to be on the receiving side of anything at any level of what you see at the collegiate level, volleyball wise. No way, no how.
No, you and I on the same side of the net. That would be
Yeah.
that'd be a really bad combination.
Yes, it would. I'd be wearing a volleyball on my forehead for about 2 weeks, probably.
But in all seriousness, if you're listening to us, you continue to follow that a little bit, or get involved with it. If you're a sports fan, I think you'd be highly impressed with the level of volleyball that's going on there at the NAIA level. So, check them out when you get a chance. It's good stuff and highly competitive. I think I just mentioned 4 teams there that are all double digits in wins, and they're going to play each other, and some of them nationally ranked, and so it's just really good volleyball. So I think that's the wrap up of volleyball in the state that I have this week. Darren, anything else you have to offer, Missouri sports wise?
No, just other than the fact that, hey, tune in next week. We'll be on every Monday night at 8:30, and we will dive in a little deeper to men and women's soccer. Cross-country rankings will be updated by then, so we may take a look at some of the state's cross-country teams at every division, every level, and men's golf is being played right now. So lots of sports to cover. We're kind of letting things cycle through. As some of the sports get started just a little bit later than a lot of our what we call revenue sharing sports in volleyball, football. And so we'll have a lot of information for you, a lot of updates, and looking forward to another good week of sports.
Absolutely. We would like to thank you, the viewer. We enjoy being able to talk through sports and have you listen to us. If you have an idea for a story or have an athlete or a team, a group that needs some recognition that you feel like is well deserved, that's kind of what we're all about. We're really interested in getting stories out about particularly teams that aren't getting the recognition that they're due, or an athlete or a coach. So if you have an idea or have a name, please drop us a line. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and we're about everywhere. So feel free to reach out and give us some information, and we'd love to follow up on that. So I think at this time, we're just going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy another busy week of fall sports. And we will see you next week with On Deck with DeRo and Arch. Thanks for viewing.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.